Hi, my name is Steve Eady. I'm with Sauk Valley Education Voter Forum, and I'm here going to be interviewing Dr. Robert Marshall. He is Democratic candidate for U.S. Senate, and we gave him a list of questions beforehand, like we did with all our candidates, so they could review them and look at them. And we'll just start right off and welcome you and ask the first question, which is on the list, is what are your thoughts on the spending in Washington right now?
Well, deficit spending is one of the major problems we have in this country. We're spending $1.5 trillion per year in the red, and we have a $14 billion debt. So this is one of the main issues I'm interested in. I think we need a balanced budget amendment to the Constitution. I'm strongly for this. And I think we should balance that budget and keep it balanced. A balanced budget amendment will require the politicians to keep it balanced. And our state has that. The state of Illinois has that. And it's created problems, but in general, over the decades, it's kept us out of debt, kept the budget balanced, and I think we should have that on the federal level too.
Okay. Well, let's talk a little bit about the deficit, because you know they talk about unfunded mandates and all that. We're at $106 trillion now overall, and some people believe it's not sustainable. I guess your opinion would be it's probably unsustainable as well, because you believe in a balanced budget amendment.
In the long run, I don't see how any civilization can continue to do this. I was alarmed when the deficit was $300 to $500 billion, but now it's 3 times that.
Right.
Now we have to just cut our spending everywhere. Okay. Throughout all, I'm opposed to continuing these wars abroad in the Mideast. We're spending $300 or $400 billion right there on those, and I think we should wind those down. We can get into that later, but that's some of the things. We're spending $60 billion on foreign aid, for example. That's money going out of this country to other countries who some of them really don't need it. Some of the regimes are corrupt, and that's money going out of this country. So there's ways we can balance this budget.
Well, I think it's the 4th largest budget item is actually interest on our debt payments. So that's another.
That's another thing about deficit spending. You don't get it. That doesn't go to improve roads or anything. A lot of that money goes abroad to the Chinese, for example. They have the loan, so the interest money goes to them. Yep.
And of course, the top 2 budget line items is Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security. And we'll get into health care in a little bit. But before we do that, I want to ask you a question. If you would be opposed or in favor of, like you mentioned a balanced budget, what about the idea of tying overall spending to like a percent of GDP or something like that to cap spending, period? Well,
that would work. If that would do the job, I would be for that. In general, I think I would like to have a balanced budget amendment to the Constitution that really binds them. You know, if you could have that a constitutional amendment or some kind of law, that would be a good idea.
Yeah, okay, very good. Well, let's talk about health care now. Let's talk about your thoughts on health care. You know, the House passed a bill, the Senate's passed a bill. Now they have to go into conference and kind of figure out what it's going to look like in the final draw. If elected, what would you like to see? Well, I guess I start off first. You're a doctor, and I guess I want your opinion first on the current healthcare system and what's good and bad about it.
Well, I'm a physician. I'm a radiologist. I work in Kankakee, and in general, we've got the best healthcare system in the country, really. It does have some problems, though. It's very expensive. A lot of people can't afford it. The insurance companies denying people care because of pre-existing illnesses, and when the bills start to pile up, all of a sudden they cancel you. Those are big problems right there, and we do need health care reform in this country, and as a physician, that's one of the main reasons why I'm running. And those problems I just mentioned to you, I think we should do something about those, and the bills in Washington do that. They correct those problems, and I'm strongly for them. And we have a lot of people who can't afford it. These bills do help those people quite a lot. It insures or helps insure over 30 million more people, and that's a big issue. A lot of the thing about the bills now is they tend to be more jobs bills than health care reform, but that's good too. I mean, we need jobs right now. We have a 10% unemployment. It's important to promote jobs if possible.
Okay. So on health care, I guess let me ask you, if elected, where would you like to see health care ultimately go? I mean, there's options on the table in the House for single payer. Senate doesn't have a single payer. There's obviously many ways to look at the healthcare system.
Right.
What are if you could view the future and say this is what I would like to see it look like? How would you like to see healthcare?
I don't think there's ever going to be a single payer system in this country. There's a large number of people who have private insurance that are very satisfied with it, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it, you know. And those people should continue with their health insurance or private health insurance or whatever it is. What we want to do is supplement people who don't have insurance, who can't have insurance, who can't afford it, don't have a job, for example. Right. And these two healthcare bills do improve that system. There's two things I would like to, or one big thing I would like to see in this, and this is not in either bill, and I would work for this if elected. I think the Medicare age should be reduced down to 60. Okay. And because we know Medicare works pretty well over 65, but this age group, late 50s to 65, has a lot of trouble getting insurance. Employers don't want to hire somebody or pay for insurance because they're a high-risk group. If you decrease the Medicare age down to 60, you'll help this group enormously. And it'll also help them get a job. It'll increase their job marketability quite a lot because employers just don't want to hire somebody that age, you know, and pay for the insurance. If they're covered with Medicare, this will increase their job marketability.
Okay. Let me ask you a question. I heard an interesting answer to this question before, and I want to get your take on it because, again, you're a physician and you have a unique perspective on this. You know, when we talk about a lot of things in education, people say, you know, we're doing it wrong, we're tying our money to the buildings and not to the people. And one person came up with an idea. They said, what if we tied money to people that they would then use that money to buy insurance? Would that be something that you'd be interested in, or would that sound like something that you'd rather just have them go into Medicare or Medicaid? But
this is sort of like a voucher system?
It would be like it's exactly right. It'd be like a voucher system.
I'm familiar with the voucher system for education, and that's a good
like
idea.
A voucher for healthcare is what?
Well, that's possible to do that. They don't have that in the bills, but that's something that would.
I actually just heard it yesterday for the first time, so that's why I hadn't heard it before. So I heard that and I thought, well, that's interesting. It's like a voucher system for healthcare. For those people that can't afford it, it throws them into the private sector, but then they have to tie into the idea that they can't be denied, obviously, for pre-existing conditions. Yeah. Let's just switch focus a little bit on energy dependence or independence. Right. Wanted to get your take on it. Now, Illinois, we're very rich in resources here. Illinois has vast deposits of coal. We've got more nuclear than most other states. We've got wind farms up north. We've got biodiesel. We've got ethanol plants here in northwest Illinois. We've got actually. I found out we have oil reserves down south that they've found, and we have, of course, we have natural gas as well. And one of the things that hampers us from developing some of those resources is some of the federal issues on those. And I wanted to get your take, just in general, on how can Illinois and how can the United States get off this dependency of foreign oil?
Yeah, I don't know if we want to get into cap and trade. That's the next question.
I will be getting into that, yes.
Yeah, because you're sort of going that way. But before we get into that, which is one of the main issues in the whole campaign, I'm in favor of going more nuclear, getting more nuclear power. I mean, we do have all these other resources. We don't want to destroy them, by the way. But in general, nuclear is a cleaner source of energy. And we do have that to some extent in Illinois already. I think we should expand that. And that's, you know, less pollution that way.
Well, I know France is something like 90% of all their energy derived from nuclear, so.
And it's worked very well. One of their secrets is every single plant in the country is the same. They're the same make. That means all their engineers can shift from plant to plant, or if there's a problem anywhere, you can call up and then they can cooperate easily that way. So that's.
Well, I think the newest nuclear power plant we have in the state of Illinois is 20 years old now.
At least,
so
yeah.
It's been a while.
It's that way everywhere, yeah.
So I think we'd probably have to change some federal mandates in order to increase that, wouldn't we? I think that's part of the issue, is it makes it very difficult, especially for private industry wanting to invest in that because of all the restrictions and things. Well,
there has to be changes, I think. If we want to get off the dependence on foreign oil, I think that's the way we have to go.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to ask you the million-dollar question. The million-dollar question is about cap and trade, and if you're in favor of cap and trade or against cap and trade, and I guess it boils down to cap and trade is really about CO2. Right. So the question is CO2 a pollutant or not a pollutant?
It's a product. Let's put it that way. Let's put it this way. I'm the only person in the Democratic race who has some scientific training and education. And I've always been skeptical about this global warming theories. They're theories, by the way. Mm-hmm. And I have a lot of questions about the whole thing. The whole timing, for example. What's the rush? Usually they have to have these tax increases by 5